Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Women's Month. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. The session is going to be recorded and posted on our Facebook and on our YouTube and on our LinkedIn. Please be sure you follow us there as well. You are muted at the moment, but I am going to watch the chat boxes. So if any questions, please feel free to write it down, or we can take like 5 minutes at the end of the session to answer any questions you guys have. And then, yeah, thank you, Kita, our moderator, is going to take it from here. Have a good session.
Thanks, Anna. Welcome, everybody. Once again, Women's Month, and it's just a friendly, fun session for us to celebrate women in the industry. So, welcome, Sonia and Anya. It's a pleasure to have you guys with us today. We were unfortunately unable to get Charmaine to join us. She already had things pre-scheduled, and she said she would try to be with us today, but unfortunately she couldn't. So just before we kick off, I just want to remind everybody about the M100 from the 20th to the 22nd of September. So if you are interested in signing up for that course, please contact info or send an email to info@kasa.co.za. And then I'm very excited about this new Siafunda course that we've just launched. You know, a lot of the CASA and CAI courses have always been focused on managerial positions, the higher positions. And now we are introducing a course that focuses more on the administration support staff, which I find is lacking in the industry. You know, you may be able to go on minute-taking courses and all those types of courses, but when it comes to really understanding the inner works of an HOA or a governing body, there sometimes seems to be the need for a little bit more guidance and assistance. So if anybody's interested, they are more than welcome to sign up. They can send an email to info@kasa.co.za, or on our LinkedIn and Facebook pages, we have submitted and circulated that link where you can sign up. Right, welcome Anya, welcome Sonia. Yes, Anya and Sonia. Anya, I'm saying it right?
Yes, that's correct.
Wonderful. Okay, Anya, I'm going to kick off with you. Don't you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, how you got to be in the community association management industry?
Okay, I'm the new estate manager at Waldegraaff Golf Course in Parys. Have been here for 5 months, so it's still new and still learning. I did the M100 course with Yuan in the beginning of the year. I've stayed on the estate for 8 years now. I was part of directors a few years ago and left again. And we had an opening, and I applied for the position to start as the estate manager. That's how I landed in the community.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't get it. Have you been in this industry for how long?
5 months.
Wow, congratulations. That's quite a jump.
Thank you.
That's
Yes.
women power for you, right? Well done.
Yeah. So yeah, previously I was in the production manufacturing environment.
Okay, and how are you enjoying it so far?
I must say I really enjoy it. It's nice working with the people. I think that's your most important one, is the relationship you have with your homeowners and the people you work with. But I must say I really enjoy the management position there.
Okay, well, good luck. All the best to you. You're more than welcome to even contact me if you need any advice of any sort. We like to stand together and at least support each other. And if you've only been there for 5 months, you may need some advice. So please feel free to contact me anytime. Johan even, and I'm sure Sonia would also extend a helping hand.
Thank you.
Sonia, I'm going to quickly jump over to you, just that we can introduce you. Please, can you tell us who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been in the community association management industry?
Good afternoon. Yes, thank you for having me here, giving me the opportunity to take part in this discussion. I am an architect and a town planner. We moved into Cornwall Hill Country Estate in 2004. My children were quite small. We had a baby girl and a girl of 4 years old. So at that stage, I said to my husband, let's only attend the AGMs, because I feel if you're in an estate, you should take part in the decisions. Otherwise, you can't complain afterwards about anything. So I barely managed to make the AGMs at that stage. And then around in 2020, just before COVID, the opportunity came up to join the board as the director for architecture, or aesthetics and building plans. So my portfolio was to look at the building plans that are submitted for new buildings, as well as additions to existing houses, and to make sure that it is in line with our estate guidelines and rules. And so we went through COVID, and I stayed on, and I actually enjoy it. I feel I'm at a stage in my life, my children doesn't take up that much time anymore, so I have got time to give to my community, and I like doing it. And then after last year's AGM, I became the chair of our board, and so we are going forward, doing new things and developing our estate. It is one of the older estates. We are now 21, 22 years old, so we're actually in a process of rejuvenation. So we are looking at redevelopment of our community areas, doing new things. We recently, a few months ago, started with a soccer field. It's just been completed, and the youngsters are now playing soccer there. And we have a few of that kind of projects lined up for the next year to continue.
Well, that's really exciting. It's nice when an estate gets to a point where they're planning, new things or upgrades. That's when it's really enjoyable. You do tend to go through a stage where it's just a little bit there, a little bit here, because developers or developments sometimes have a lot of, what can I call it, outstanding matters that need to be dealt with first before you can start doing the lacquer things, Anyway, well, that's great. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. I'm going to kick off with you with that first question that I've got of work-life balance. You've obviously indicated that you have some spare time, and I'm sure you've come to understand that being on a board of directors is actually quite taxing on your time, and not for a chairman. Can you maybe just give some feedback on how you balance your work-life balance? Because I find that most women are struggling with that at the moment, and I think they can really use some advice on how to manage it.
No, definitely it has always been a struggle and a juggle. I mean, I always wanted to be part of my children's life, so I tried to be with their after hours activities as much as possible. I was in the fortunate, or I'm still in the fortunate position that we've got a family company, so it makes it slightly easier. I worked with my father first, then he passed away. I'm still, at the moment, still working with my brother. So when I have something that I need to do for the estate or whatever, then we've got an agreement. I've got my own hours. So if I take 2 hours to see our estate manager in the morning, then I will do 2 hours in the evening or whenever, as long as my work is finished on time for the clients.
Okay.
So, but it is always a difficult situation. But if you do planning, it is possible to get to everything.
Sonia, is it me that can't hear you, or?
Can't you hear me at the moment?
I can. I'm just not sure if I'm freezing or whether you are. So, it's mine. I see it's giving me a notice that my internet connection is unstable. So I'm sure everybody got that. I'm just going to try and change myself around here. But Anya, if I can ask you, just to touch on that work-life balance, I think from you being introduced to estate quite recently and in the position that you're in, I must be honest, I've been in the estate management or community association management industry for the last, it's been 18 years now. And the last 3 or 4 years, I found the work-life balance quite challenging to manage. So if you've got any advice being a newcomer in this industry, it would be valuable advice.
Yes, so there's a balance between, I've also got a son in high school at the moment. So it's between the personal life and work balance. In our estate, we have the golf course and we call the HOA. And you have to balance between them as well, because you've got 2 directors actually beneath me. One of the directors of the golf course, others of the HOA. And you have to keep both of them happy. You can explain it like that. And you have to plan. That's the most important thing, I think. You can quickly feel overwhelmed, and you must just realize you can take it step by step. It can be a lot once off everything together, but you have to prioritize between what is more important than the rest, and balancing that towards your home and your time as well. And the most homeowners know, I've got an open line to them. They can communicate, but they don't bother me after hours, especially if there's a crisis. But that was one thing I always wanted. I told them I have an open line, and just come and speak to me if there's any problems. But there's a balance. You must know when is your personal time, when is the work situation.
Agreed. You know, I found recently, well, when I was promoted into the estate management position, I was still running my previous position. And I had to learn, you know, at that stage, I was taking my work home just to finish because I was sitting in back-to-back meetings on a daily basis. But as you say, you need to plan. So agreed, I had to start, you know, putting times in my diary, which was my time to focus on getting the work done. Otherwise, I was finding myself working at home, and I actually started going into burnout. So it's important, as you say, you need to plan. And if you're planning accordingly, and you know that when you leave work, you also sometimes need to say, you know what, the laptop stays at the office tonight, because otherwise I find myself, I'm a bit of a control freak as it is. I find myself whipping that laptop open, just trying to get everything done. So I feel better prepared for the next day. But that planning, unfortunately, wasn't being handled the right way from my side. But I've had to put my foot down and say, you know what, tonight the laptop's staying at the office, and pick up on it tomorrow morning.
I think you should have to set your boundaries. That's important. There must be boundaries for yourself as well. I also I stay on the estate, so it's not far from the office, and you can quickly be involved every day 24/7. So you have to put that boundary in place as well.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Otherwise, people take advantage.
Yes.
Right. What's been the most challenging in your role, Sonia, chairperson? Because you've obviously been on the board now, I think if I understand you correctly, for the last 3 years. Has there been something specific that you can tell us about that's been challenging for you, that you've overcome while on the board?
Yes, well, I would say in general, the most challenging thing is when you have an issue with a resident that are quite unhappy about whatever. I had it, for instance, when I did not approve a plan, and it would usually be because they are not well versed in the rules and guidelines. We do have it, but nobody reads it. So you've got to make sure that you have the knowledge to back up whatever you are doing, so that if they are unhappy about something, then you can refer them and just say, but if you go to rule so-and-so, you will see that is why it was not approved. But if you would do that and that, then it will be approved. And usually you can then get the issue resolved. But that is actually the most challenging thing. If people perceive you as being unreasonable or whatever, and actually you are just trying to make sure that everybody adheres to the rules.
I must say, I agree with you there. Part of my job over the last 18 years has been intensively working and managing building and architectural and aesthetics and rule enforcement from a building perspective. And, you know, and I must agree with you there. I found that people, you know, they've obviously home is their life. That's their passion. They want it. And by telling them you can't have it, it does seem to create a bit of a negative response. But I've also found that once they understand why, they easily see it from that view, and it's easily sorted out. But it is. I found that architectural plans and houses and aesthetics have always been a very, very, very sensitive issue to deal with residents. But you know what? If you've been able to, and from an architect's perspective, I'm sure you can relate with them quite easily, which is great. And because you understand it so well, I think it's easy for you to also explain as to why something can't happen the way they may want it to happen. That's great. Thanks. So, Anya? What's been most challenging in your new role? I think this should be one that you'd be able to easily answer, because with all due respect, you know, it's great being in this position, but it does have its challenges.
Yes. No, there's actually a lot of challenges to do. Everything is new, so everything is a challenge at the moment. I think in our estate is our rules. We were a small estate and we're busy growing at the moment. We've got 300 stands, but just 90 are built, 90 houses. So we're still growing. And in the beginning, people didn't adhere to the rules. They did what they wanted. They just continue it. So now implementing the rules is difficult because they were used to do what they want. So that's our most challenge, to implement our rules and stick to it.
Word of advice, and I don't know if you've tried this yet, so I don't mean to underestimate, but I found over the years maybe educating them makes it a bit easier.
Easier,
Even if
yes.
it's, just a short that that sometimes comes across a little bit easier than having to just enforce, and people are like, why now all of a sudden,
Yeah,
so
yeah, well, I've started we didn't have newsletters, so I just started the newsletter once a month, and my idea is to enforce a rule or an architectural rule or anything just to guide them and to remember them about the estate and the rules and things. So that's in process.
Newsletters are a really good way of doing it. And I find that you'll very often, I don't know if you've experienced it yet, but people will actually start asking you questions before they do it. So they'll come to you first and say, oh, I remember this newsletter, something about that. How do I get this done? Which is great because that means that they're actually interested in doing the right thing. So well done on that. Great. If you could give any advice, and I'm still with Anya, if you could give any advice to other women in this industry, what would it be?
I'll say be self-confident. I think you must trust in your abilities and not doubting yourself. Sometimes you can think somebody knows better than you, just to realize, but you also know the answer. And it's actually a better outcome if you've done it yourself than trusting it into somebody else's hands. So yeah, I would say be self-confident and believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice. I believe in that one as well. Sonia? What do
I
you
agree. I agree with Anya. And in addition to that, what is part of that is that you must have knowledge. Because if you have the knowledge, then you can be confident because you know you are backed by the facts. I've been an architect. I graduated in 1992, so now you can work out how old I am. But, so I've been in the, I've been in the industry for many years in terms of building work. So if somebody asks something or if they query something, I know I have the knowledge to help them or to guide them or whatever. And also in terms now on the HOA, if there are any issues there and you have the knowledge, then you can make a sure decision and be confident in what you've decided.
I agree with what you just said, backing off of Anya. That knowledge gives you even more self-confidence. So, and people can read it. So they know when you're telling them something that you've done your research, you understand it, and that's the knowledge that you carry. They are very, very quick to trust you, and work with you. It makes it easier. You all of a sudden showed your face. Was there something you want to add?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Because I see you've got Women in Associations background as well, so you can also take part.
I'm the last part of Women's Month, the man part.
I'm getting to that question. How do you,
I can just make it. It's so great to hear and Sonia and you and Anya sharing. The industry has been for a long time predominantly, especially at management level, being male, and it's slowly changing. And it's great. It's great, and it's great to hear people can share stories and positive stories.
We ran out today.
All right. Thanks, Johan. Sonia, how do you empower yourself and other women around you? Sonia, can you hear me?
Sorry, come again?
Sorry, my question was, I'm not sure how many women you've worked with in your architectural you know, while you were an architect and so on, I can believe that you have. But my question was, obviously, you're now in community association management as a chairperson on the board. My question is, how do you empower yourself and other women around you?
Well, coming from the architectural profession, I was actually quite used to being in a, well, let's say a position of authority. I mean, you come on a building site and you are the top dog, and the other people has got to listen to you. So that was quite nice from day one. But I have also to say, in our specific homeowners association, we are a board of directors of 6, of which 3 are women, and that is quite nice to work like that. You know, we are a lot of women bringing our specific viewpoints to the table, so we don't need to fight off or, you know, make our point across in a different way. So I actually find it very welcoming to work there without having to have any fights or whatever.
Oh, that's great. It's very, very great. It's great to hear that these three of the 6 are women on the board. Where I am, our previous chairperson was always motivating more women to at least, you know, be nominated onto the board. He always used the term pale and male. The board was always too pale and male. So, you know, he wanted diversity. He wanted to introduce more people. So hearing that half the board is female there, where you guys are, is fantastic news. Anya, same question to you. How do you empower yourself and other women around you?
Okay, so yeah, I'm also a firm believer of studying. Read articles, listen to this community station webinars that you hold. I think that's always nice to learn. Knowledge is power, as they say. And we also, in our directors, we have 6 at the moment, 5. We have 2 is women.
Okay.
And our admin staff here, financial lady, is also a lady. My advice to you as well, if you want to continue, start learning. You can always grow with it and be there for each other.
Completely agree with both of you. Knowledge is power. And just back to what Johan said, it's nice to see and hear that there are more women getting, you know, involved and becoming, you know, or at least stepping up to these positions, because it has always been a very, very male-dominated industry. So it's good to see that the change is happening. What advice, and Anya, I'm still sticking here with you, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self today?
Oh, I'm just thinking about that question.
I'll come back to you, Sonia. If you want to think about it, don't worry, I'll come back. Are you ready to tell me what you would tell your 25-year-old self?
I think, well, maybe to be less afraid. It took some time to get confident in my skin and to know that I've got the knowledge and I can do the whatever. You know, because we are in a male-dominated world, especially in the building industry, and you tend to come in and stand back and let the others talk, and then you find out, but actually you know the same or more than them, but it takes a few years. So I would tell myself, walk in there, be confident from day one, know that you can do it, and you only need the experience, you already got the knowledge, so just start out and work full from day one.
That's great advice. Thank you. Anya?
What I was thinking, I read the other day, is they said there are 2 ways to be happy. Change the situation or change your mindset towards it. So be happy and be confident in what you do.
Now, that's great advice from both of you. You know, your mindset, your mind is so powerful. You know, while you gain the knowledge, that's the power. Your mind is so powerful that it actually can trick you or affect you. So if you get bogged down by, and I think it happens to many of us, we tend to get bogged down with too many things going along, whether it's rule enforcement, whether it's unhappy residents, whether it's pressure from the workload, whether it's a work-life balance. You know, your mind is so powerful that if you allow it to just fall on that wrong side of you know, the tipping scale of the negative side, it can be quite a scary spiral from there. You know, some people, it gets to a point where you kind of lose control. So I think it is very important, that positivity thing that you've just said. You know, even if you wake up in the morning and you note 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for, even, it keeps that mindset positive, which is what actually gets us going and growing, and keeps us getting more knowledge, giving us more power. But we must never forget to actually just sit down, think of what we're grateful for, make sure our mindsets are positive, and the rest from there is easy. I found recently that a negative mindset can just turn everything the wrong way around. I've seen it with my staff, especially when they've got a lot of challenges at home, and that's what I think is so difficult about that work-life balance, because they've got kids, they've got hubbies, they've got tasks to do at home, they've got responsibilities to meet, and then they still got to come here and worry about me and my expectations. And I must be honest, we very seldom recognize the fact that they put the extended time in, they put the extended effort in, and that's also taxing on their lives. I'm not sure if you guys can speak to that, but I have found that I don't have children, so I don't know how other people are juggling it. I'm barely juggling what I can juggle at the same time. So I really take my hat off to those ladies out there that are running a family life, supporting a family, you know, supporting your children, still working in a community association, having to answer to different directors or your subordinates, residents' challenges. It really, really, really can be taxing. So what you both touched on is very valid when you look at the bigger scheme of what I've just kind of coupled together. Yeah. Last one, it's a bit of a negative one, but I'm just interested to know, you know, have you ever experienced this? What do you think is the most dangerous, or have you seen somebody, or have you experienced a behavior or trait that you've seen derail other female leaders that you've either worked with or known? Sonia, kan ons by jou begin?
Thinking quickly, not really. I have not actually had experience with bad or negative other female leaders, no.
Okay. Anja, ken jy iemand voordat ek my inset te gee? Sorry, I hit over to Afrikaans by accident. I apologize.
No, I haven't really worked with women that derail, but I think what I can say, sometimes in a corporation where there's only women and they are fighting between each other, and I think that can derail any organization or any management team or any support system. We must always be careful for that mentality between women to stir, if you can say it like that.
And it kind of also links a little bit to jealousy, if I can think that. You know, sometimes they're either envious or jealous of each other. I completely agree with you. It can derail a number of things, and it affects everybody around them as well. One thing that I would have suggested or said was sometimes we can be too emotional, and those emotions can sometimes, from my experience, affect our thought process and decision-making processes. So I think it's a bit tougher on us because we've always got to weigh up these, you know, set the emotion down, raise the emotion up, make sure you're self-confident. But I also believe that these things are what make us stronger. Because we have that will to drive. We continue to push on and push on, push on. And that's the one thing that I have picked up with women that's definitely a strong trait. And that dangerous behavior of letting your emotions get the better of you, unfortunately, is also like that spiral into the negative with your mindset. You just lose control. Yeah. Right. Is there anything you two would like to add before we end off our session? I've done with my questions. We've been busy for 35 minutes. If there's any questions that have come through on the chat group, we can open them up and check. I just want to have a look. But Sonia, is there anything that you'd like to finish off with before we close?
Yes, I would just like to say that, being in the board, there are always challenges. There are always issues that we need to resolve. And from board meeting to board meeting, you tick them off and there are new ones and you've got to do them. And I've just found that sometimes you just need to celebrate the moment as well. When you've got victories, just sit back for a moment and think, we've done this, we've created this, or we've achieved this, and celebrate that before you just rush off to the next problem, because otherwise you sometimes get bogged down. You feel that you're just fighting all the time. But to make it for everybody, to make it more enjoyable, sometimes just sit back and say, listen, people, look at what we've done, and celebrate that before you go on again.
I completely agree. Thank you so much for that great ending. I think that's definitely going to resonate with a lot of people because we don't focus on it. So thank you. Anya?
Yes, I agree with Sonia. I think that's one of the most important things. You've got a lot of projects that you have to tackle, and then always the progress is slow, and you forget the things that already been done. And don't be afraid. Things seem difficult in the beginning. Just start the process.
Great, thank you. Anya, Sonia, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure chatting to both of you. I really hope there's women out there that listen to this webinar even after the fact, and that something resonates with them, because that's the point of this discussion. We're celebrating women, and we're also trying to give advice and comfort and support to those women out there who are in this industry, who are also trying to make a success of their career, starting from the bottom, getting to the top. And it's great to have had you guys with us on this webinar today. I've enjoyed this conversation. You both carry a lot of value. Anya, good luck in your future endeavors, and I wish you all the best. You are more than welcome to contact me if you need any advice. I'll try my best to tell you what we do. Let's compare apples with apples and see what works best for you guys. Sonia, it was a pleasure to meet you. I love architecture and building, so I'm quite taken aback by the fact that you're sitting in the chair position, and I think that's great for somebody with your knowledge and background to be, especially in a community association. So all the best to you and all the new things that you guys are doing there at your estate. I hope to meet you guys both in the future, whether it be at a workshop or an event or a networking session. It's been great. All the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Thanks.
Have a great day. Thanks, guys.